So, do you like those?
Yeah, they're great. What are they?
They're soybeans.
Really?
Yeah, edamame. It's immature soybeans.
Can you tell me more about where they're from?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm about to tell you the story of soy. So, soybeans are from China. They were domesticated there about 5,000 years ago from a plant called glycine soja. Uh, the legendary Emperor Sheng Nung classified it as one of the 5 sacred plants in Chinese culture. And eventually it came to dominate Chinese agriculture along with rice.
So, how did it spread outside Asia then?
Well, at first, soy was brought across the world by European traders who used soybeans as ballast for their ships. And it was brought to America by a man named Samuel Bowen, who was a sailor who traveled to China. And he brought it and grew it on a plantation in Savannah, Georgia. And for a long time in the United States, soybeans were not used for human consumption, but were just a foraging plant for livestock.
So, what made soy more popular then?
Well, after World War I, several things happened that made soy more popular. The first thing was George Washington Carver researched it a lot, and he discovered its value for oil and also its nutritional value. He also realized that soy is really good at fixing nitrogen in the soil. So he recommended that farmers use it to replenish soil nutrients. Then when the Dust Bowl happened in the 30s, farmers used soy to fix the nitrogen as George Washington Carver recommended it, and that helped them get over the Dust Bowl situation. When he wasn't busy building cars or being a raging anti-Semite, Henry Ford pioneered and financed the use of soy in American agriculture and industry, going so far as to design and build a prototype of a car that was made entirely out of soy plastics, which he famously pummeled with a sledgehammer to show its durability. And then finally, the big one, after World War II, family farms gave way to factory farms, and the new industrial agricultural system required a cheap, nutritious animal feed, and soy turned out to be the perfect match. After this realization, soybean production in the U.S. skyrocketed. Now the U.S. is the #1 producer and consumer of soybeans worldwide.
But even if the U.S. is there, who else is up there with the U.S.?
Well, the top 5 producers of soy are the U.S., Brazil, Argentina, China, and India. And the top 5 consumers are the U.S., China, Mexico, Japan, and Indonesia.
Alright, but how does the soy get produced?
Soy is an incredibly versatile crop. Most of it is grown in the American Midwest, but it grows well in places as diverse as central China to the American South to the tropics of Indonesia. In the U.S., soy is grown in rows spaced about 2 feet apart. It ranges from anywhere from less than a foot to 6 feet tall, and is harvested about 80 to 100 days after planting. But first, I feel I have to make a distinction between the oil seed and the vegetable varieties of soy. They both have different uses, and they're both harvested different ways. Oil soy, as you can imagine, is used for its oil content, which has many industrial and many industrial and food uses. The oil varieties are grown on a large scale, and they tend to be more industrial in their production as well. Farmers grow them in large quantities, and they are machine harvested. The vegetable varieties are used for direct consumption in things such as tofu and soy milk. Their pods break more easily, so they tend to be harvested by hand rather than by machine. So after the soy is harvested, it's moved to storehouses where it's dried out. But first, after soy is harvested, it's moved and it's threshed, which is when they separate the beans from the pods. And then once that's done, it's moved to storehouses where the beans are dried, because for oil extraction and for storage, the beans need to have a low moisture content. So after that's done, depending on whether or not it's oil or vegetable seed, they're shipped off for processing. Oil seeds are processed by being heated and then treated with hexane, which is a solvent that extracts the oil from the seeds, and once that's done, the oil goes off, and then the leftover byproducts are called meal, and that soy meal is used as animal feed in the industrial wheat.
All right, but what about the vegetable varieties?
The vegetable varieties are compose only 6% of soybeans consumed, and most of this occurs in East Asia, where it's a traditional staple crop. Most of the recipes and uses of soy originated from this part of the world, and all of these are cooked. Some are fermented because raw soy is toxic. So there's soy milk, which is an emulsion of soy protein and oils and water. And tofu, which is probably the most famous soy product, is basically a cheese made out of this milk. Other popular soy foods are tempeh, which is a brick of fermented soybeans, or miso, a Japanese fermented soy seasoning, as is soy sauce. Today, soy is also used to make textured vegetable protein, yogurt, soy flour, baby formula, and it also has non-food uses for other products like plastic, crayons, biofuels, and vodka.
Yeah, but even though soy can be used for all this stuff, is it even healthy? Like, why would they even bother?
Because it's really healthy. Soy is one of the highest protein contents of anything ever. It produces twice as much protein per acre than any other vegetable crop, and it's on par with meat, eggs, and that's why many people, vegans, vegetarians, and people just trying to cut back on their meat consumption, turn to soy to get their appropriate protein intake. It also has a lot of vitamins and none of the cholesterol and trans fat that meat is infamous for. So.
Yeah, but I've heard a lot about like the genetically modified stuff and soy being like president. Is that true or?
It's definitely true. 96% or 93%. It's definitely true. 93% of soy that's grown is genetically modified. However, most of that is oilseed soy, not vegetable soy. In 1994, the agricultural company Monsanto came out with their patented soy strain called Roundup Ready, and basically they modified it genetically to be resistant to an herbicide, so now farmers can just spray their entire fields with this herbicide. It'll kill every plant except for the soy plants that are Roundup Ready. So that really increased production, and ever since then, genetically modified soy strains have had basically a monopoly on the oilseed soy industry. However, vegetable soy, the majority of it is not genetically modified and is usually organic because, let's be honest, most people who are eating vegetable soy products tend to be hippie types, and they're not going to go for the genetically modified, non-organic soy. So it depends on what you choose to consume and how you consume it. And that's the story of soy.